YouTube is where it's at, dude. And it's what Pineda told me all the like 3 years ago. He was right. Remember that guy yesterday? He asked like, "What's the best platforms?" I'm like, you shouldn't be thinking that. You should be thinking building an ecosystem of attention, and each platform gives you the ability to do that with short form, medium form, and long form content. At the same time, being conscious and purposeful and intentional. That the goal is to get them to long form. If it's 15 hours, it would take 5,200 short form pieces of content for somebody to get to 15 hours. It takes like 30 videos if they're only watching half.
I've got to start identifying the stories that I can
tell of agents.
That I can lead into.
Here's an agent that recently joined our team. So we got him courses, held him accountable. Here's the results and outcomes. If you think that you could benefit from these resources, DM me the word join. I think the hero is the client. And he's giving us the plan that he uses to make the client the hero and for them to get what they want and avoid what they don't want. He's also the guide to help us as operators, because he was like, look, we're all just serving people, whether it's agents or if it's our buyers and sellers. So he's equipping us with a plan so that way we can deliver those types of experiences. So that way we can get what we want, which is more deals and income, that it's more profitable, and avoid what we don't want. I also thought what he said, which is fascinating, is that like money put into hospitality is worth more than cold advertising. Because what you create is a raving fan. They become the army of like ambassadors. So I told Carla like afterwards and Gabrielle, I'm like, look, we could all the touch points when agents come into our ecosystem, from when they first, hey, I'm thinking about joining, or I booked a call, that's a touch point, to the actual call itself, to the follow-up afterwards, to the application process, to now you're onboarded, to your first deal, to like all of those are touch points. And Gabriella said, she was like, yo, how could we have a Dreamweaver at the Do More Deals Summit, where you have like a certain budget and you equip everybody to be listening and watching? And how did we make somebody's like event? Let's say you overhear someone say like, oh man, like I got a headache, but I don't have any Advil. Right. And the Dreamweaver is empowered to go like, make it happen. Or like, hey, we forgot our toothpaste. And then it shows up in your room, or hey, you know what I mean? Yeah. And she still lives in my experience has been is that getting around people who are doing, you know, meaningfully more expands what you think is possible. And this is the great place to do that, whether it be the speakers or at lunches or like whatever. And Liliana in the card the other day is like, hey, I'm building a network so that way you can benefit from it. So if ever you need anything in the Massachusetts area or whatever, like you call Ben. Right. You're like, you know what I mean? If you ever need something in California, call Jose. If you ever need to know about creative finance, call Pace. Just building a network, which comes along with. So part of our job too is being in really high level masterminds, seeking out like the best information, the most accurate information. Yeah. So part of a leader is like when, let's say like Pace invites me to stuff, I go, my job is to be in the room so I can learn. If I'm going to take a leadership position, I'm responsible for the people that are responsible for the results. So I have to be committed to constantly growing. Yes. No sé. No. Ayúdame, por favor. Sí. Just tricking people left and right, you know what I'm saying? If I'm going to take on a leadership role, what's required of me changes. One of what's required of me is I have to be learning and growing, because that's the only way I can perpetually keep adding value. The second is I have to be committed to disseminating information, meaning like 7 times said is once heard. I have to say things like over and over and over again. What's talked about is thought about. And I have to do the heavy lifting of figuring out what's worth talking about.
Be willing to let go of things that you thought were
important to talk about. Yes. And then I have to stay ready so I don't have to get ready. I have to be constantly prepared. So whenever the opportunity comes up to talk about the things that are important, I'm ready to do it.
And you have to understand.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for me too, like I also have to, I feel like I have to understand the thing that I am communicating. And so I've got to have the time in order
to think about it. Yes. And to understand it fully. So like, it was interesting. Like I was on the way over here the first day of the event, and I was journaling because I had a long car ride. So I'm journaling thoughts. And then after the first mastermind that I'm sitting with all the teams, I journaled like, oh, here's what came to the surface. And then I drew a conclusion from what came to the surface, right? About like 3 different tracks. You can be an individual agent. You know, we've talked about that. versus team versus like individual with an organization, and what's actually independent of how I feel about it, what's actually more true. So part of it is having the time to like really get clarity of thought.
Yeah.
Because that allows you to convey things with conviction. And is conviction what's required in order to get people to believe? Right? So 7 times said is once heard, but if I say it with conviction, then it starts to cultivate belief. But I need to get myself convicted. I need to get myself certain, which leads to conviction. Yeah, and certainty has to deal with like actually having the time to think and be like, is this true?
Yeah.
And then triangulating ideas with believable people. So I'll call Jose and be like, hey, bro, here's what's coming to the surface. Like, does this seem like it's accurate? Or I just spoke to Casey, who's like world-class 2 organizations with 3,000 people, Casey Gihak. And I respect what she thinks. And I was telling her like, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Tell me if I'm thinking clearly.
Yeah.
You'd be doing me a favor if you poked a hole in what I'm saying. Oh. Muchas gracias, señora. So I think you're in a season of clarity. I think you used to rely on routine, really in a way, and I mean this lovingly, turned your brain off.
It's easier.
It's easier.
Yeah.
And it's duplicatable, predictable. Your need for security is high. So, that's fine. Leadership requires a different set of skills. And it's interesting because in the past, you told me when we first started going down this path, you identified and described yourself like identity. Tell me what to do. Show me a path.
Well, I looked for everyone else.
Right.
I remember I came to you and I was like, my wife knows the path. I'll just have her choose it and
Right.
then I'll do all of the
Right.
work.
Like I'm just a worker.
Yeah.
And that required an extended period of time of changing the identity to like, no, dude, you're not just a worker, you're a leader. But part of leadership is, again, like figuring out, if I'm in the position that everybody's looking to me to where we're going, I need to be clear on where we're going and why. Moses was clear as to why they were wandering around in the desert. Everybody else gave him static about it for 40 years. Are you sure? You know what they actually said? We would have preferred to stay slaves. Yes? We would have preferred to be slaves, and because at least we had a meal and it was predictable and duplicatable, right? So a leader, it requires like clarity and conviction. Moses was receiving his clarity and conviction from God, right? But as a leader, if I'm going to be in that position and people are going to follow, I need to determine the type of leader I want to be. Lowest level of leadership is title. Second highest level of leadership is relational. The third highest level of leadership is production. The fourth highest level of leadership is as you create other leaders, you build other leaders. The fifth, and this is the highest and it's the hardest, it's the pinnacle, is people follow you because of who you are and what you stand for. So I got to decide what type of leader I want to be. And then if people are giving me their attention and they're allowing me to lead, I need to be clear on where we're going and why. With conviction and getting you clear on like, okay, where's that conviction coming from? What's the actual mission? What is your role as a leader within that mission? And then you can draw upon a source that's independent of the world. Because the world is full of doubt, worry, fear.
It controls everybody's life.
100%. We don't want to admit it, but it's very true.
Well, we don't.
It's
the same thing when I quit drinking. The guys who I hung out with that drank didn't like to be around me.
Yes.
Because it amplifies what's already in their own head that they drink.
Yeah, it amplifies their discontent.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. And we care more about our having, but like God cares more about our being. So who am I being? And he wants us to be more like him, which is to be a servant, like a servant leader to others. Because as I grow more, I can give more. And as I give more and help more people, then you end up having more. But the having is like extra. It's not the main mission. So it's just getting clear on that. So like if you looked at the talk today, his mission, his purpose on the planet is to show that there's goodness in the world, and the way that his ministry is hospitality. Right? That's his ministry. But he's completely clear on who he is, what his gifts are, and what his role is. And he can convey that with conviction and clarity. Yeah, so the cool is that as humans, we're all drawn to like goodness and beauty. right?
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yep.
Nobody needs to be prompted. Nobody needs accountability. Like we're all attracted and drawn to things that feel good. Well, the really cool thing about that is when the thing that feels good is you. Right? And then that becomes like, again, it's biblical. Be a vessel so people can see the glory of God in you. It's like a light where you're shining your light onto other people. And I think you can do that in business. You can do good by doing good.
And that's what was the last guy's speaker's name?
Will.
Will.
Yeah.
Well, what did Will said that it's the feeling of people's faces and providing that sort of moment.
Yeah.
Is like the most selfish thing because of the way that it made him feel.
Yeah.
It's no surprise that is likely the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
There's a reason that God put that.
Oh, 100%. And what it makes me think about is I remember two things. One is a story that I heard Tony Robbins tell where he's like, yeah, the bumblebee very selfishly goes from like all the flowers, right? And the reason is because the bumblebee wants nectar.
Yeah.
But unbeknownst to the bumblebee, what's actually happening is he's pollinating all along the way. It's built in by design. And then I remember saying to Rick one time, I'm like, man, like it feels really good when you connect from a place of contribution and like really make a meaningful impact in somebody. And I was quiet and I was like, yeah, it's almost like it's built in. And Rick was like, oh, that's because it is. And I was like, oh, how interesting.
But it's amazing how antithetical that was to how we did everything before.
Which was completely transactional. Yeah.
But it was intentionally transactional.
And well, the problem is the environment that we were in promoted the transactional kind of mindset and actually celebrated it. Yeah. So to your point is what, as a leader, what's talked about is what's thought about. And I think in the end, love is an unbeatable business strategy because not only does it promote like goodness in the world, but it also builds fantastically strong relationships. It feels amazing. There's nothing else. Like when we were at the leadership retreat and I heard so many people without being prompted say how much, like our relationship had impacted them. That's like priceless, dude.
Yeah.
You can't buy that with money, right? So if the thing that I want to be greedy for is like my name being in somebody's testimony, that's a worthy goal and objective. And as a byproduct of that, because you're a servant king, you're probably going to do really well as well. Cheers to that. Hey, how much has your life changed in the last 3 years?
Well, it's
Can you imagine where you would be,
I
bro?
was talking to my mom last night. We had a wonderful dinner at that Cuban restaurant.
You can do that throughout the day.
Excellent, right?
Unreal.
Yeah.
But I was telling her the story of the last 3 years, and you think about the end of 2020 when I left Steve Powers, and sort of we got connected in January of 2021. From that point,
I had to undo so much thinking. So much thinking, bro.
but I also understood very, very like the first time we had that Zoom call, like whether it was Greg or Grant that put us
Connect us, yeah.
we were just like, yeah, let's jump on a Zoom call. I think it was like 45 minutes or an hour.
Just talking.
But that was the first time that I've had a coach and trainee, whatever I am, relationship where it was just a comfortable. I felt like I was more authentic in that one conversation than I'd ever been in a coaching session with anyone.
For like years with all other coaches, yeah.
Right, but never did I. But that was the first thing where I was like, oh, it can be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then it was like every step along the way was sort of that development. But that's what. And then I was thinking, I was telling him, so my mother's been obviously meeting everybody and hearing stories, and obviously everybody's been so kind to Mark, talking, and Jess, and Dan, the whole crew. Like those relationships, I'm so fortunate. I feel so fortunate to have like the opportunity to get to know these people. Yeah. And it's not surprising that people that are surrounded by you are all the same
Type. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're all drastically different in how we
personalities, how we approach, sure. But the core. My name is Aaron Novello. I am from sunny South Florida. Right here is our hometown.
We're going to talk now about social media, right? So social media any type of form of lead generation. How do we take people that are engaging with us, liking us, and turning that into an actual customer or client?
Yeah, so what we're doing that's really working is strategically something called story brand. So every story that you've ever watched, every movie that you've ever watched follows a particular format. And we've been telling history, like stories throughout human history for a very long time. And they have the capacity to hold humans' attention unlike any other technology, right? And every story that you've ever watched, every movie you've ever kind of, partook in, it follows the same format. There's a hero who has a problem. And the hero can't solve their own problem because if they could, there would be no story, yes? Yes. They meet a guide who then gives them a plan, who calls them to action because heroes don't take action on their own accord. They need external prompting. And then the hero gets what they want and they avoid what they don't want, yes? Yes. What's interesting though is when you really break that down, who's like, in terms of characters, who's the weakest person in the whole story? No, he's the second weakest. He or she's the second weakest person. The weakest person's the villain. So Voldemort doesn't even have a body, yes? Okay. Who's the second weakest person? The hero. So does Harry Potter know that he's the best wizard on the planet? Does he know how to use magic? He doesn't actually at the beginning. He doesn't know how to use magic. He has to go to, where does he have to go? He has to go to Hogwarts, yes? And who's the strongest person in the whole movie? Whole character? Who? Dumbledore, who is the guide, yes? So here's what I think is true, and I mean this lovingly, okay? 99% of you use your media as a mechanism to gratify your ego, not to position yourself as a guide to help people to solve their problems. Yes? So let me ask you a question. How many people are posting, look at my new listing? Who's the hero? Here's me at a closing. Who's the hero? Here's me working out, which I don't know why any of you post that. Because nobody here's a personal trainer that gets paid to do that, correct? Which is, well, there's one in the room, right? So, but do you see what I'm saying? So what we're doing that's really well is if you've noticed, how many people have interacted with me before in media? Show of hands. Good, I need to be doing a better job, so more of you have your hands up. But do I ever position myself as the hero? I am a what? To help people to solve what? And we're all looking for guides to solve our problems. Yes? Health problems, relationship problems, financial problems. So that's what we're doing, it's really working, and we're doing that via YouTube because what we found is, and Krista knows this, and I'm sure everybody else does, if people consume 15 hours of your content, they're going to engage with you in some capacity. Well, in order to get that on 60-second reels, somebody has to watch 5,200 posts. In order to get that on long form on YouTube, even if they only watch half, they only need to watch 30. So we're applying story brand format on YouTube, which is causing people to reach out to us on a regular basis.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so far we have the common thread of being real, being human, developing your brand. All right, so I'm going to say research a lot because I'm a freak about research. I used to be a teacher. The research shows that the more that you can solve a problem that somebody doesn't know that they have, the more somebody will connect with you. Okay, so let me give you an example. First of all, how many of you are a little bit nervous about doing video and social media? Raise your hand. Okay, there's a lot more of you.
Everybody's hand should be up.
You guys are liars. I know there's more of you out there. We're all afraid, right? Because people are judging us. Well, here's the deal. They're going to judge you anyways. They're going to judge you. Let them judge you for what you're doing right. The second somebody will stop judging you is the second you solve their problem, kind of exactly like Aaron said. So if you are doing content, remember, the more you speak to everyone, the more you speak to no one. If I was to say, right now is a great time to buy a home, if I'm a veteran and I don't have good credit, let's say, I don't have a lot of money in the bank, I don't think I have the ability to buy a home. So if I say that, they are absolutely tuning me out. However, if I say, are you a veteran with bad credit and no money in the bank? Do you know that you have the ability to possibly buy a house? And by the way, veterans, thank you so much for serving our country. Because you served our country, there are loan programs out there just for you.
Before this session, I was trying to think of what I could bring to the people that showed up to bring value, because I think we all use social media differently, or we want to, and I think there's no one right platform. I think you have to find what works for you as an agent, your personality, and your marketplace. So what I have to bring to anyone that this could possibly work for is niching into your local community and providing cross-promotion and partnerships with local business owners, because that is something that has propelled my business and our team's business. So just to give you an example of what I'm referring to, we have giveaways every holiday. We call it Holidays of Giveaways. And it started with us buying different prizes or different pieces of whatever a business is offering in our local community and giving it away for free. So we were spending money and then giving it away for free in a like, share, exchange to build our social media following. Now, fast forward 7 years later, we partner every year with 40 to 50 locally owned and operated businesses, and the donations are all coming from those businesses, and they're upwards of $100,000 worth of prizes, free to us, free to the people that win them, for liking, sharing, and propelling our brand, and in turn, we're promoting their brand. And when you think about who your local business owners are and your local business operators are, those are most likely the people that are buying and selling real estate in your community. So it's something that if you want to simplify getting likes and turning them into leads and closing them and getting paid, that was something that we have found so reasonably achievable for everyone that is choosing social media as a lead generator.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to continue to focus on strategy, because I know that our tendency when I'm in rooms like this is people like to get lost in like the minutia of how to create the content, right? Like AI or this type of thing. But without strategy, if you're not positioning yourself as a guide to help people to solve their problems and you're not calling them to action, nothing happens. So the intention and purpose of getting attention is to monetize that attention. Yes? I'm sorry, am I in the right room? Yes? That's the whole purpose. Not to like gratify your ego, not to be like, look at me, I'm working out, look at me, I'm on vacation, because you're not positioning yourself as a guide to help anybody, okay? So if you noticed, I was noticing as Krista was giving you that example, so I think strategically if I give you this, so instead of saying, here's a home that I just sold, yes? Who's the hero? And do you know what heroes hear when you do that? They say, oh, Austin's a hero just like me. I wish I could stop and listen to what he has to say, but I'm too busy trying to find a guide to help me to solve my problem. Do you understand? So instead, what Austin can do is like, here is a homeowner who had this problem. They were facing foreclosure, and they weren't sure if they were going to be able to transact and actually make any money. Here's the 3-step plan that we use to accomplish this. 1, 2, 3. They meet a guide who gives them a plan, and then here's what Austin did. He was able to sell his home and get this money. So if you want to have a confidential conversation about how you could get your home sold, DM me the word sell. Now, that last part there is called a call to action. Do you know what people do if you don't call them to action? Nothing. They just watch you. And most of you guys don't ask them to do anything. So what would be examples of calls to action? If you want to learn more, be sure to follow me. Yes? Krista does that all the time. You want to learn more about videos? Be sure to follow me. Yes? You're asking them to do something. Right? Or another one would be like, hey, if you want to have a confidential conversation, DM me the word, whatever that word is, buy, sell. And there's a program called ManyChat, which what that allows you to do is when somebody hits that DM, it'll instantaneously send them something, an Eventbrite to book to your event, or a Calendly link to book to what it is that you're doing, or to meet with you to have a consultation about buying or selling a home.
And it will do it automatically. So often.
Automatically, like real time, like as it's happening. So again, the critical thing here is strategically. So what she's saying about like, I'm sorry, your name again? Jessie, there you go. So what Jessie's saying again about like, she's positioning herself as a guide in her local community. Yes or yes? Yes. To help people to solve there you go. Do you understand? So if you don't take anything away from this, if you look at a piece of media and you realize you're the hero, you're doing it wrong. If you're not positioning yourself as a guide to help people to solve anybody's problems, you're just using it as a mechanism to hope that like somebody watches it. And that's the wrong metric to be paying attention to.
So let's talk more strategy. Strategy? Okay. Yeah. So now you have this attention. All right. First of all, I have a trademark that I say it's called earn the right to ask. You need to earn the right to ask. And how do we do that? We do that by adding as much value as possible. Right now, there's research that says that between like 30 and 50,000 marketing messages that we get every day. People asking for things, right? You opt in, people are like, buy this, buy that. How many times do you like see something you're afraid to click, right? We're afraid that we're going to get spammed, we're going to, you have to earn the right to ask. So once you earn the right to ask by developing a relationship, solving a problem through consistency and being seen on a regular basis, right? Not making it about you, just as Aaron said, making it about them and helping them.
What's the best way to show somebody you can help them? By helping them. And media is an unbelievable mechanism to show people that you can help them by helping them already, yes? Because what I can do is I can imagine a world where you can send the digital version of yourself, which is a better version of me. It doesn't get sick, it doesn't get tired, it doesn't get quit, it doesn't get hungry, right? And I can send thousands of these digital versions of me into the world to formulate parasocial relationships with people so they can decide if they know, like, and trust me, right? And again, once you get that consumption thing, so there's a gentleman in the crowd here who is completely across the country, okay? He called me one day, he said, bro, I've watched 100 hours of your content in the last 90 days. And he said, I want to partner with you with EXP. I said, do you have any questions? What do you think he said? No. Send me the paperwork. So the best way to show somebody you can help them is by helping them. So what you need to think about is who's your avatar. Your avatar is your ideal customer or client. And what are their problems? So if somebody's moving to a geographic area and they're brand new, what do they want to know about? They want to know about the schools. They want to know about the parks. They want to know about, I don't know, like cool things to do and festivals or places to go and eat and all this other stuff. So if somebody's been consuming content for the 6 months before they move, who do you think they're going to call? Because they feel like they know, like, and trust you away. And you've helped them already by helping them.
And they are looking 3, 6, 9, 12 months in advance. And your goal is not to show up when they're looking, but to show up way before. There's a certain ceiling. Many of you are just doing things like open houses, cold calling, door knocking. That is one-to-one marketing, okay? There's a ceiling to how much money you can make because you're doing one-to-one. When you market online, you are marketing one too many. So as people are engaging with you, engage back, right? Engage back with them, talk with them, say something personal about them. Don't ask for business, don't ask for a referral, just talk to them and be a real human being.
You said something, Krista, which was interesting, and I believe that this is true, is that if you're a terrible marketer, you have to become a rock star salesperson. I'm gonna say that again, not because you didn't hear me, because I'm a recovering rock star salesperson. And I was a terrible marketer, okay? Is that if you're a terrible marketer, you have to become a rock star salesperson, okay? And what I will also say to you is you can make up for with leverage what you lack in ability, right? So I would sit in a room 3 hours a day, prospect 6 days a week. I sold over 100 homes a year, 10 years in a row, 2,000 transactions. That's cool. What's the problem with that? It's one-to-one and I physically had to be there all the time, yes? I was the guy who would make fun of people that were on media. Stupid, dumb, don't do that, yes? Okay. If you looked at my channels 3 years ago, it was my wife posting pictures of our children. From that to this year, 2 million views on YouTube. 69,000 hours of watch time. That is 7 hours of human life. Let me ask you a question. How difficult would that be to do in the physical world? You have to be like Taylor Swift to be in front of that many people, yes? So what I want everybody in this room to understand is that you have, I don't have mine on me, we think that little device is for entertainment and productivity. You have distribution in your pocket, it's free. Do you understand? How talented did you have to be to get on a radio station years ago, 50 years ago? Very. How talented do you have to be now to post something on YouTube? Nothing. Guys, listen to what I'm about to say to you, okay? 10% of all TV time, TV screen time now is YouTube. It's more than Netflix. Netflix is 7.8%. You have the ability to have your own series on Netflix on YouTube.
For free.
For free. And what you're doing, oh my God, Susie's doing this, I can't believe that, yay, and you're entertaining yourself. Yes or yes? Yes. So 3% of the population creates, 97% consume. Who do you think makes all the money? And I just want to be a creator, guys. So I would implore you, okay? Get over whatever stupid, ridiculous, nonsensical reason you're saying to not do this. We live in a world. Do you think Kim Kardashian is the sharpest knife in the drawer? She's a billionaire. She parlayed attention into Skims and she is a billionaire. Do you think the Logan brothers are the smartest knives in the drawer? He created Prime Energy Drink. He will be a billionaire at 30. Guys, use these platforms. Don't use them to consume. Use them as a mechanism to position yourself as a guide to help people to solve their problems, or just sit back and watch other people do it.
Yeah, it helps your mental state too. When you think about the anxiety that it takes to put your phone up and talk to it, when you have something valuable to give to somebody and to distribute, it feels so much better. When you know it's value added and it's not ego based, it's so much easier. Well, and then you're going to get people engaging with you.
Well, and it's very timely, okay? I want you to listen closely to what I'm about to say to you. If you can get half the population to hate your guts, you can become president of the United States. You guys are all worried. You know how many people comment on my posts like, oh my God, I can't believe it, his hat, his beard, I don't like his jeans. Who cares? Guys, use these platforms. Don't use them to consume, or just sit back and watch other people do it. You're on camera right now. They only see me on screens? I felt like I was around all. Got stuck in that traffic too. It's like a tree. I'm like that. Who's counting? Next time, bring a videographer.
What? I brought
No,
my camera.
bring a videographer.
Yeah.
If you want to go all in on media, it's required. You could go from like however many sales you're doing to probably like double, triple.
People just don't know about it.
They don't. The thing that's critical in media is not to position yourself as the hero, but instead to position yourself as a guide. If you think about stories, right? There's different characters in a story. The weakest person in the story is the villain. The second weakest person is the hero. So if I'm posting content, look at me, here's what I'm doing, here's a home I sold, here's a closing we had, I'm the hero. Instead, I should be thinking, how can I be perceived as a guide to help people to solve their problems? And the book that you need to read is Story Brand by Donald Miller. That needs to inform all of your media. Once you understand story branding, you realize how embarrassingly your media is just for you. Not for anybody else. Like, here's me and my kids. Here's me and my vacation. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody's watching that. Just so you know, nobody. Like your mom might be like, that's it.
Transferring that to post-con and things like, instead of just saying just sold.
You should say, here's the problem that they had. Here's the plan that we used. Here's them with the outcome. If you want more information, I'm going to call you to action. I want you to do something. Call me. So what'll happen now is people start to watch, like you were saying, you started watching content. But notice in my content, do I ever make myself the hero? No, I've sold 2,000 homes. I've attracted 350 people, but I never talk about it. So let's say you consume all this content. And then let's say I come out with a course on media. Would you see me as a guide to help you to solve your problem? And then you would give me money. Haha. Yes? Do you understand? That's how you do it. It's just understanding, like, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed woman's queen. If you could see some stuff that other people can't, it's incredibly advantageous. So everybody out here is blindly walking around making it about themselves. They're doing it completely wrong. And then they wonder why. Why is your channel blowing up? Because I'm a guide. I'm not some jester. Like you, instead of like, I think Kim Kardashian did people a huge disservice. You know what she pushed into the world? Look at me. You know what you guys need to be focused on? Listen to me, not look at me. Yeah, no, listen to what I'm saying. You know, I have coaching clients where I'll hop on, and I mean this lovingly, they're females, and I'll look at their content. I'm like, I can't tell what you're selling. Looks like you're selling something else. That's a different form of prospecting, team. Yes? They're doing it wrong, right? And I get it, like it's a form of power and you want to show that, but that doesn't position you as a guide to help anybody to solve their problems. It doesn't. Does that make sense?
And once Aaron told me about this, about the guide.
So he's the guy who watched 1,000 hours worth of content, clear across the country, called me on the phone and said, hey, never met him, and was like, yo, I want to partner with you.
100%. And he had a full like listing presentation that
on YouTube,
and like the link to the whole PDF or whatever was on there. And I followed it 100%. I watched his presentation like 100 times. Crazy.
Took listings,
and the first one was like a $1.3 million listing.
So to that point, the best way to show somebody you can help them is by for free. Because then you know what you start to think, bro, if he helps me for free, how much would he help me if I paid him? Or how much would he help me if I got close to him? Yes? In doing so, you're positioning yourself as a guide to help them to solve their problem. Okay. And then they'll reach out to you.
Before you guys finish up, should it be two different handles?
Yeah, so I think it's two channels because it's two separate avatars. Yeah. So like I do all of my stuff on one channel because my avatar is only agents. Yeah, exactly. So I have a coaching program that we sell coaching and high ticket items, but then we do attraction. Yeah. So we've brought 356 agents in 2.5 years, but it's because I position myself as a guide to help them to solve their problem. What is agents' problem? They want to do more deals. That's all they care about. They don't care about anything else. Now, I do believe that there's a very interesting blend. So I was just at the Pace actually invited me to this thing called the Clever Investor, Cody Sperber. I don't know if you know this. What was interesting is a lot of the wholesalers or people that do you, they would come up to me and they'd be like, yeah, we do like 20 deals a month. I'm like, great. How many offers you making? 300. Yeah. What are you doing with all the listings? Nothing. Then all the agents come up to me and I'm like, how many deals are you doing? They're like this. I'm like, great. And I'm like, all right, what do you do when somebody wants something creative? Nothing. So the blend is both. So if you can position yourself as a guide to help agents solve that problem, you'll also build your downline, which will become the actual frictionless thing that makes the most money with the least amount of noise. Because it's a reoccurring stream of revenue where like the flipping and the whole whatever, it's just a mechanism to raise cash. But the purpose is to get to monthly reoccurring revenue in like multifamily or something like that. Because that's what creates time freedom and location freedom. Otherwise, I always have to be there. It's just another hustle.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, you're
Nice
welcome.
to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you
And,
too.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I think I'm like again, that perfectionist thing is more of a video, and
It's not. So I really want you to think about what I said.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the fear of failure in disguise. That's what it is.
'Cause
And it's not a video thing.
Good.
It's not that. And it's putting too much emphasis on what people think.
Okay.
So in essence, what it is, lovingly,
No, you're good.
I'm I
I
I
got something to get.
I'm idolizing people's opinions.
Yeah.
I'm putting them on a pedestal. Where if you notice, and again, I mean this lovingly, did it seem like, thank you, you're awesome. Hey, did it seem like I cared at all what anybody thought? No. When I was up there, does it seem like I'm worried about how people are perceiving me? Not at all. And as a result, though, what I said is true. There are people in that room that didn't like me. I'm fine with it. But my tribe gets attracted to me. Yes? So you need to understand that, like, I know I'm aware, like, we grew up in environments where you're not supposed to stick out. You're not supposed to raise your voice. You're not supposed to say anything that people don't like. But in that platform, I have to be myself. And being yourself, you will cause people not to like you.
That's a lot. That's rings true for me because I came from the corporate world.
Right.
And so I always had to be very
Prim and proper.
Yes.
Always look a certain way, always behave a certain way.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And what happens is I get a lot of static for it. They're waiting for me for a picture.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hey, yes, take care. And like I shared with you, is prior to coming to these, I know it's like fun. And people's ratio, I'm not suggesting it's true for you, but just in general, their ratio of fun to learning is usually like 80% fun, 20% learning. So
I did not come to do that.
having a ratio of like, hey, what do I really want to learn about? Who do I want to meet? Who do I want to get proximity to? Like that guy I was just talking to, his name's Brandon. He came to the company. He has 22 companies. Yeah, but he deserves to wear the color shoes. So red. Well, I mean, your boy's got him on too. He has 22 companies. He has a lending company that does $60 million a year in revenue. So there's like people walking around that are that, you know what I mean? And it's just like figuring out what do you want to know about, what do you want to learn about.
We're gonna think that's here in life.
Yeah, and we're gonna what's his name? There's a guy here who's getting ready to partner with us. He does 75 million in volume, 5,000 sales. He didn't come.
No.
It was interesting is that I texted him and he didn't respond. Like the day before, I was like, all right. And then he told me the day of, like the day, because he was supposed to come to our probate event. We did a lunch and learn. Yeah. I mean, I think that when people, particularly agents that are in high volume, there's a lot of it for them to unwind. There's like transactions and all this stuff. So it's like a little cumbersome, but I have no reason to imagine that he's not. So we'll see. Sometimes yeah. Exactly. You said no for 7 years, man. You know what I tell people when I'm teaching this? I'm like, okay, how many people have a significant other? They all raise their hand. I'm like, did you say yes the first time they asked? Usually the answer is no.
Yeah.
Had to be like multiple attempts, right?
Yeah.
What's up, Rockstar? Hey, how is your... Come here. How's your husband doing? I believe that the future of real estate is what you're doing, which is where an agent will be able to provide multiple options and choices. And whatever option you choose, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I agree.
So if someone's
been doing it.
Yeah, no, and your point is because I went to the Clever Summit. Do you know Cody? Yeah.
I know Cody very well.
So Pace invited me there, Morby.
Yeah, know Pace very well too.
Yeah, and I would have people come up to me, and the wholesalers. I would say, "How many deals are you doing?" They're like 20. I'm like, "Great." How many offers you making? 300.
Yep.
How many listings are in there? Probably 10. What are you doing with them? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Then all of the agents, which are like, "Hey, what do you do if somebody says they want a cash offer or something creative?" Nothing.
Yeah, they don't know what to do.
They're both leaving them on the table.
Yeah, I know. I know.
So what I'm aware of, I told Pace because I was on his wholesale whatever hotline, and he was like, "Hey, why do you think our communities don't hang out with each other?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, a couple reasons." He was like, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, one, you guys kind of talk shit a little bit."
Yeah.
Because it's like all agents, right?
Well, there's a lot of bad holes. There's a lot of people that do it. They give it a bad name. They don't do shit the right way.
Well, that, and I think we both have the same avatar.
Yeah.
Which is a motivated seller.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that they can learn from us on what to say and how to say it, salesmanship, and we can learn from them about creativity.
Yeah, but you know the one thing with Pace that I've said a few times, Pace is brilliant. I'm like, dude, no one can. There's very few people that can architect a deal like that. Do you know what I mean? It's
Because of his intelligence, his ability, capacity to do it.
It's like he's like, no, everybody can do creative finance, and I'm like, no, they can't.
No,
They can't.
because most people,
Because people can't see the roadmap the same way that you can.
yeah. So the challenge is like he's a visionary, and not everybody is.
And by the way, he's a special human.
I know. He's been
He's
incredibly kind to me.
not just that. Like he's like if he was here,
A go-giver,
and
bro.
there was a line of 700 people,
He would stay the whole time.
He would stay and speak to every.
I know.
I've watched him.
I've watched him do it too.
Till 2:00 in the morning.
I know.
Like he'll do it till 2:00.
In terms of like community, it's wild. Yeah. And I'm aware that Pace built his whole community with media. Pineda the same. When I was on Pineda's podcast.
Well, Pace was YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what I said at the meeting, which nobody, like, people are like, whoa, 10% of all TV time now is YouTube.
No, I caught that.
7.8% is Netflix.
Yeah.
YouTube's more than Netflix.
Yeah.
So if that's what's true, like, I think to your point, it's a lack of understanding that attention's more valuable than money. So what would you rather have, $100,000 or 100,000 subs on YouTube?
Yeah.
100,000 subs on YouTube all day long.
Yeah, because they're going to make it.
So this is cool to actually meet in person.
I think so.
Yeah, so we met initially in the digital world, yes?
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
The content was helpful to you. Exactly how was it helpful to you?
Yeah, so I was working to scale my business and I wanted to get better at my listing presentation. I'd been on a bunch before that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to take it to the next level. And I think that I got a recommendation or I searched listing presentation practice or whatever it was.
Sure.
And then I saw Aaron's videos.
Yeah.
And I watched a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, and the videos gave you kind of tactical information that you actually used, deployed, and got good results, yes?
Yeah, so I had a $1.3 million listing presentation coming up.
That's awesome.
And I watched Aaron's video quite a few times on the listing presentation itself. And it wasn't just mindset, you need to go in there and have positive affirmations. It wasn't that. It was specifically, tactically, this is what you say in this order. This is how you do so many assumptive closes.
Yes.
Because you need to close 7 or 8 times.
Yeah, to get
someone to actually say yes.
Sure.
And I did exactly what Aaron said. And I got the listing that night. They signed and everything like that.
That's amazing.
$32,000 check.
Love that.
So that was quite good. And that was specific tactical advice that I got directly from the videos that I watched.
And for free.
For free.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing.
Free.
So, and then from that, you decided to actually reach out and have a conversation.
Yeah. So I reached out and we spoke, I think, maybe less than a month after that appointment. I'm like, hey, I'm super pumped. You got great stuff. I watched everything that you're doing. And we actually ended up partnering.
Which is awesome.
After that.
Yeah, which is so cool. And then what I think is so awesome is that you're utilizing that same strategy, not only in your business, but also with a product that you created for agents. Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. So not only do I use exactly what I'm learning through Elite Builders and through Aaron's information that he is just passing out to everybody that joins and partners with us.
Yeah.
But I'm using those same things to help my business and then help other real estate agents in their business grow and scale.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's terrific. Well, I'm super pumped to be partnered with you.
Yeah.
It's awesome to meet you in person.
Yeah.
And look forward to building this together, man.
Yeah. And even better yet, since I've joined Elite Builders, I've gotten probably 4 or 5 referrals.
Have you really?
From people in Elite Builders.
Oh, that's so awesome, dude.
And it's almost to my advantage. So even if you're not in the South Florida area or where other major Elite Builders,
because we're as clear across the country as we could possibly
exactly.
be. Yes?
I'm in Arizona and Oregon.
Yeah.
And Aaron's out here in South Florida.
Yeah.
So it almost works to your advantage. So if you're in a market that is completely away from where the major Elite Builders are at, I would implore you just to check things out. Look into Aaron a little bit.
Here was Leo Perea. It's awesome to meet you, man. We did a Zoom podcast, and we decided, hey, we're right down the street from each other.
We realized we're one county away.
I know, we're just neighbors, man. So it's awesome to be here with you.
That's actually one of the coolest things about our company. It's completely virtual, and when I talk to people, they're always like, I'll feel disconnected. And I actually tell people that I think the human connection that we experience because we're virtual is even better. right? Because it's always intentional.
Correct.
It's not like I ran into you at the copier. It's like I made a decision to spend time with you.
Yeah.
Whether it's at an event or one-on-one like we're doing right now. The virtual thing to me is saving on fixed overhead, but then the human connection part is even better in person.
Yeah, and because the way that the company is structured, our interests are in complete alignment. So what I'm doing is I'm meeting with another owner.
I actually talk about that a lot. I had never really understood multi-level marketing or direct selling. And now I get to run the 3rd largest direct selling company in the world.
Yeah.
Right. That was news to me when I got here. And I went to a direct selling event and found out, I was like, oh, wow, it's like Amway and a couple others and us.
Yeah.
And actually the way that I normally need parallels in my brain to just put stuff in buckets.
Sure.
And for me, our revenue share model is a newer asset light aligned version of franchising was 10, 20 years ago.
100%.
Right. I owned a franchise. I was a small member of the cap table. But what I've learned and experienced is that's actually a confrontational, friction-full experience.
Yes.
Because, I owe them fees and they sell me stuff. They make me go to stuff. They make me sign up for stuff. And they get paid off the top.
Yep.
And then I'm left over to make ends meet. And it's always like a give and pull.
Well, and what you're describing is the principal and agent problem. So if somebody went to business school or whatever, an MBA, what they teach you is that principals and agents are at odds with each other. So principals in a company, they want something. They want to keep as much money as possible. The agents or the employees want the opposite. They want to keep as much possible. And what they say is whoever solves for that principal and agent problem the best wins. And when I was looking at these models, because I used to own part of a franchise, I sold it back in order to participate in this opportunity. I felt the exact same thing that you did, that there was friction. And it was very clear that even though it was a little better, it was still hierarchical. One person got the lion's share of everything, everybody else gets crumbs. And what I realized in studying this model is that this solves for the principal and agent problem the best. It's not perfect, but it's the best. Where now my interests are direct in alignment with the company. I get to become an owner through equity. You'll never get rich trading time for money. You must own equity. I get to share in the revenue that the company produces. And what's wild is like, I know this is to be true, and this has nothing to do with you. I did a leadership retreat this year where we took leaders in our organization to the Dominican Republic. You had no idea I did that.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly fine. Like this becomes, in hierarchical models, what you end up with is weak leadership. Because if you want an A+ opportunity, or A+ talent, you need an A+ opportunity. So because it's hierarchical, what ends up happening, and me and you are an example of that, when A+ talent rises to the top and there's no more opportunity, what do?
They leave.
They leave. What this model does is it becomes a super highway for leaders, where it basically is saying, hey, here's a platform. You can do whatever you want with it. You could build as big of an empire as you would like. We're just the platform, the operating system underneath.
Well, I'm sure you've heard me say it. That's actually how I describe the company,
Yeah.
right? We are an operating platform that allows real estate entrepreneurs to build whatever size dream they want.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a well-known data nerd.
Yeah.
And so when I first got here, my obsession was just understanding who we are and what our population is. Right. So some fun facts that you can share is 29% of our agents have one or more people in their downline.
Wow.
Which was higher than I expected it. But then I clicked a second number down and I was really curious about 3 or more. Because to me, 1 could be an accident. 1 to 2 is an accident. 3, it feels like you're trying.
Yeah.
And when you go down to 3, it's only 14%. And so, again, that's not good or bad. That's just is, right? So one thing it told me is 86% of the people here just to sell homes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so, like, I've never forgotten that we're a real estate brokerage.
First.
So my obsession in the 2 years I've been here is operational excellence. Like, how do I pay you faster?
Yeah.
How do I answer your broker support questions faster? How do I close the loop on any issues, right? And to me, it's like, let me start with the super important, not sexy, and make that experience amazing. Because unlike other opportunities for folks like you actually are completely relying on the lion's share of the experience on us.
Correct.
Right? Like you could be the best attractor in the world and create the biggest opportunity. But if onboarding sucks, or broker support sucks, or it takes 2 weeks to pay somebody, Who's staying?
Yeah, so what I think is huge about what you just said is I am very clear, EXP is my operational partner, right? So you guys operate. My job is to bring people to the opportunity and then to add tremendous value, right? Your job and the team's job at EXP is to make the operation excellent. And together, because we're all owners, we're all building something together.
The other thought that you just reminded me of when you were saying about your leadership retreat, I asked Glenn a ton of questions when I got here, and just like, I always like to understand the legacy, because, you know, there are things that are put in place for a good reason, especially when you have smart people, right? Like if I see a system or a rule where I'm like, hey, before I go touch anything, let me ask a bunch of questions. But one day I was asking him like the differences in models where in other systems, there's a leader, and, you know, the people who help attract just kind of bring him to the doorstep, if you will, and let the other people do the work. Yeah. And he's like, this is the distinction. Like, that person takes them all the way to the finish line. Right. Right. And the way he explained EXP in his original vision, and what definitely came out of it, is we're an experiment in distributed leadership. And explain to me what you mean by that, because I think I'm clear, but so in most systems, like if in traditional, I know any real estate company, any food company that has franchises, right? Like there's typically a master regional owner. Country owner, right? You sell Europe, Asia, Latin America, the Midwest, the Northeast, the Southeast. And so there's this person who kind of drops in and evangelizes, and then that person then sells the franchises. And so they get to participate in the total upside. And then there are folks who become super kind of franchise owners, regional owners, of like 5 or 6 or 7 stores. And again, this could literally be McDonald's, real estate companies, to, you know, and fill in the blank, any franchise shop, Subways. And then some people end up with 1 or 2. Yeah. And so the revenue opportunity could be, you know, enough to provide for one person's lifestyle. Sure. To a multi tens of millions of dollars operation with staff. Yeah. Right. And I'm talking about Burger King to real estate offices. So what I see that was created here is someone can kind of tiptoe in and say, hey, is this for me? And do a little bit of it and add 20 grand a year to it, like where your cap's covered and you're basically 100% company, to, you know, 6 and 7 figures a month in revenue. Correct. And at that point, you're basically a multi-regional owner. Yes. Right? Without any multi-office owner. Without any expenses, major expenses, leases. I was going to say, the big difference is without a 10 or 12 year franchise agreement. Yes. Without a 10-year lease on 20,000 square feet. Correct. Right? Because what I always want to be clear about is the folks who do really well then treat it like a business, right? That's why the platform statement, like those are very specific, like 9 words that I've crafted together, because I want to be a platform, and I'm hyper aware that like 68, 70% of our agents are solo producers and will sell 5 to 12 homes a year. Great. And I want to be the very best platform for them to do that. Yep. Then we have other folks on the extreme side of the production fence. Like our number 1 team this year is probably going to do 1,200 units with 65 people, right? And we'll probably have 1 in the US and 1 in Canada that do 1,200. Like Justin Haver and Matt Delhoon. Kenny Fast team and Kyle Whistle will be right behind him. In the US, you will see who Parker Pemberton's coming up right behind them. But Jennifer Jones and everybody else will give Justin equal run for their money in Canada. Sure. So we have folks that are running $10 to $20 million GCI businesses. Like that's bigger than most brokers ever get to. Yeah, sure. And so we need to be able to support people closing 80, 100, 150 transactions a month, right? Yeah. There's entire franchises in real estate that don't do that. And we just have them. We have multiple teams in certain cities that have that kind of production. Yeah. So our platform has to be scalable and have to have the support and inputs to support those level of businesses. That's super interesting. So this conversation is helpful because it's helping me to have some clarity, which is one, the platform, to your point, needs to be operational excellence for the agents doing lots of units all across the spectrum, whether it's 2 to 5, 10, or thousands.
What it also is doing is an experiment in distributed leadership. So the people who focus on the opportunity of, let's say, attraction, they realize this is a regional opportunity without franchise agreements, without,
It's a global opportunity.
It's a
right? 'Cause
global opportunity.
We have very successful attractors who are just dominant in their physical geography.
Yeah.
And then we've had folks who cross all kinds of lines.
Right. So like right now, I've been with the company 26 months. We're in 15 states. So I was on a call with someone who was trying to present me with what he thought was a good opportunity. He's like, yeah, you'd have to sign this 10-year thing. I'm like, you realize I have the same opportunity. I have to sign anything. And I could do it anywhere, not just this little region in California. So the company is really doing two things. One is that operational excellence for the agents and units and volume and all that. And then operational excellence with distributed leadership, which are the agents that see the opportunity in terms of attraction, it lines within their skill sets, and they go aggressively after it. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's where the platform statement stands, right? Like you can be a solo producer, you could be a small team, you could be a mega team.
Yeah.
You could attract, I was on a call 2 days ago with an agent who's a solo producer, $45 million, solid producer, right? Yeah. And he had me on an attraction call with a very big team. And I asked him, I said, what do you make a month? And he said, 10 grand, but I spend 5 hours a week on it, right? So it's not his focus. He considers production his focus.
Yeah.
And again, 5 hours may sound low, but that's still 1 hour a day, right? It's still a pillar. But when you think of that person's iconing, so they were at 100%,
yeah,
pretty much. And then they're pulling in an extra $120,000. That's a pretty cool opportunity.
Well, and what they're doing, so I've been saying this for 4 or 5 years, because if you look at the macro, I think the macro is an example of the micro. So the macro is brokerage. The problem that they're having is that they're having to deal with the following. The net company retained dollar to brokerages has gone down 50% over the last 50 years. So it used to be if a brokerage took in $1, they kept 50 cents. Now it's like 10 cents. That's a huge problem. They're also dealing with a massive decline in revenue when you go from 6 million to 4 million transactions. Plus with the NAR thing, I think with a high degree of probability that there may be some compression in terms of professional fees.
If I were betting, I bet it goes down, not up.
Right, me too. On the buy side. So all of that, what I share with people is, look, cash is oxygen to a business. After the rah-rah and the marketing, Warren Buffett says in the short term, the stock market is a voting machine. I think. In the long term, it's a weighing machine. Who's actually making money? So if I look at the macro, it's happening on the micro level too, right? It's the same issue. Now, the way that the macro dealt with it was to become vertically integrated on ancillary services, right? Well, what this platform does, and what I share with agents all the time, it allows me to be vertically integrated, where I get equity in the company that I'm helping to build, right? An S&P 600 company. I also get this other opportunity, which stands next to me, which makes up for any compression in commissions. And that's really what you're saying, right?
And also understanding that like our core business model is profitable and sustainable.
Yeah.
And so we don't actually need to monetize the agents and turn them into a product. Like I keep you on the partner side. And I actually said that to people, I'm like, listen, if an opportunity isn't profitable, meaning like at the unit economic standpoint, they lose money every time they close a transaction.
Yeah.
At some point they will monetize you.
They have to.
Right? Whether it's their ancillary,
yeah,
or the model shifts.
Which I'm already seeing, where I was on a call with a brokerage in Chicago, and here's what they said, Leo. If you don't do 10 million in volume, your split's higher. If you don't use our ancillary services, your split's higher. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Which, again, I'm in the business of partnering with the very biggest producers.
Yeah.
Again, like I know the avatars across our spectrum, but like I'm quite proud that our top 250 teams sold north of 69,000 homes. As a standalone independent company, those top 250 teams would have been the 6th largest independent by transaction count in the United States. Right? And the companies in that ranking are 18, 20,000.
Which I think is great, because one of the things I hear from people is like, oh, you guys just care about like attraction. It's like, nah, dude, we do the most units.
Period. And our per person productivity is on the high side compared to like other national companies.
The year is like, my son's 13, yeah, so 2010. We were doing a lot of transactions, like probably like 89, chugging towards 100. My wife's pregnant. And she happens to be our operations manager, which is dope because I don't have to pay her.